There will always be more reasons to quit than there will be to stay. Sometimes life gives you a million reasons to quit, doesn't it? I mean, it feels like they're coming at you a million miles an hour. That every time you turn your head, there's another reason to quit. There's another reason to be discouraged. There's another reason to not want to take one more step along the journey. There's another reason to give up on the relationship. There's another reason to give up on the dream. There's another reason to give up on yourself. I think Naomi was living through a million reasons to quit, one reason at a time. Have you ever felt that way about it? Like you're living through a million reasons, but the deal is you just go, I wish that they could just all be dumped on me at one time. Like, can I just get all of the reasons now rather than having to get a reason? And by the time I think I've finally dealt with this one, something else comes my way. By the reason I've finally dealt with that hurt, something else comes. There's just another heartbreak waiting around every single turn, it feels like. The line in that song that really resonates for me is that every heartbreak makes it hard to keep the faith. You know, every time your heart is broken again, it just gets a little bit more difficult to keep the faith. Every time you walk through one more pain, it just makes it a little more difficult to keep the faith. And it may not be your faith in God, maybe it is, but maybe it's just your faith in other people. Maybe so many friends have left you that you don't have faith in friendships anymore. Maybe it's not just your faith in God, but maybe it's your faith in your spouse, and they've hurt you, and they've done the same thing over and over so many times. You've started to lose faith because the heartbreak, every heartbreak, makes it harder to keep the faith. You're giving me a million reasons to quit the show, the lyrics say. If I had a highway, I would run for the hills, but you're giving me a million reasons. Have you ever wanted to run for the hills? You just wanted to quit? You just want to go, you know what? I'm going to get as far away from this situation as I possibly can. I mean, and Naomi had already run for the hills. And she had moved halfway across the world, her world, to go because of this famine. And she had moved to this land that she didn't know anybody there. Was starting completely over with her family. But she gets there, and then all of a sudden, more hardship comes into her life. Her husband dies. And just when she thinks she's dealing with the pain of the death of her spouse, her son dies. And she goes through the pain of a son dying. And then, right when she's dealing with that, she deals with another son dying. And death seems to be around every single door that she walks through. And she gets to this moment where her head is stuck in a cycle. I look off and I stare. It's like that I've stopped breathing, but completely aware. Been there before. I've had moments where Connie has said, hey, are you here? Are you here? Just kind of off in a stare. Maybe you're there right now, and you've been trying to engage in relationships recently, but you've just been caught yourself staring away. You've tried to have substantive conversations with people, but you can't get out of your head long enough for it to happen, because the truth of the matter is you're just to a place where you want to quit. You're just to a place where you're not engaging anymore. Maybe you haven't quit in reality, like walked away, but you're not there. Maybe you've already quit on yourself. You just haven't told anybody yet. You've quit. And Naomi comes to that place. And in verse 9, we left Naomi kissing her daughters-in-law and weeping with them. But we want to go back to verse 8 for just a moment, and then we'll catch up and get into verse 10 today, moving on in our story. In verse 8, it says this. It says, but on the way. Now, last week we saw that on the way is when most despair actually comes into our life. It's on the way to the place that led to home. And that's where they were going. They said, but on the way, after they had taken a step, they found God, they were following God, it began to call them back, and there began to be a call to them, because it's along the way that most of life's despair usually comes. But I saw something else this week as I was studying the scripture in the phrase, but on the way. There's some encouragement in but on the way. And here's what I want to tell some of you. You're on the way. But on the way means I've taken a step. But on the way means I'm trying to go to the place that leads to home. But on the way means that I am doing my best to get there, and you're on the way. And some of you feel like you're going to quit on the way. But what I want to tell you right now is that we're not going to let you quit. This church is going to rally around you. The people of this church are going to rally around you, because here's what we know about you. If you're on the way, then there's a hope. If you're on the way, then there's encouragement. If there's on the way, then you can get to where you need to go. And here is another encouraging truth about you. Most of you in this room, not all of you, but most of you in this room are better today than you were 6 months ago. You're a better version of yourself than you were 6 months ago. Now, for a lot of you, you still aren't very good, but you're better than you were 6 months ago. Why? Because you left a place of despair. You decided to find God, follow God, and now you just are on the way. You're on the way, so don't give up. But then it says, but on the way. Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, go back to your mother's homes, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. May the Lord bless you with the security of another marriage. And then she kissed them goodbye. And they all broke down and wept. This is the moment in the story where Naomi decides to quit. I think that there are many of you who right now are in the moment of your story where you're about to decide to quit. In fact, I would say that I believe that everyone in this room is about to quit on something or someone in your life. And maybe it's something small for you, but you're about to quit on it. Maybe it's something really large for you, and you're about to quit on it in your life. And she gets to that moment. So we pick up at verse 10. No, they said, Naomi, or Ruth rather, and Orpah. No, they said, we want to go with you to your people. You know what I find in life is that pain brings people together. And what we see here is a moment where Naomi had some people around her that were willing to go through some more pain with her. And remember, they had already walked through a lot of pain with her. They had already walked through hardship with her. They lost their husbands too, in addition to her losing her sons. And so they've been through some pain, and pain brings people together. Well, here's the truth. I don't trust you if you've never been through any pain. In fact, what I would say is if you say you've never been through any pain, you're either lying or your life has been so good that you make me sick. Like one or the other. Because I've been through some pain. And everybody else in here has been through some pain. And what happens is, as C.S. Lewis said, the greatest friendships are forged when someone looks at the other person and says, you too? Like you've struggled with that too. You've walked through that pain too. You've blown it that way too. Pain transcends color. Pain transcends socioeconomic status. Pain transcends background and all other situations, because pain brings people together. And what you need sometimes is someone who will just say, we will go with you. No, you're not going to go alone. No, you're not going to do this alone. We will go with you. I can't tell you how important it has been in my life to have people who said, I will walk with you. I will go with you. I will be by your side. No, you won't do this alone. No, you won't walk through this pain alone, because I will be there, because pain brings us together. But in verse 11, Naomi replied. Now listen, we're going to hear Naomi say some things. And what happens is she's going to say some real things. But what happens is when you're in the midst of wanting to quit, you say things that are real and you make them final. And you take real things, reality, and you make them final. And what you have to remember when you're walking through with someone who is going through the stages of wanting to quit is you just don't believe what they're saying completely. You take them seriously, but you don't treat what they're saying with the seriousness that they are. And listen to what Naomi is going to say. She says, why should you go with me? Can I still give birth to other sons who could grow up to be your husbands? In other words, what she's saying to Ruth and Orpah is the only reason that we are connected is because of the fact that you married my sons. And so that is what brings us together. And so why would you want to go with me? Because I don't have that anymore. And so surely you don't want to go with me. That is true. That is the reason they were originally connected. But what Naomi is missing is the fact that they were connected at a much deeper level now. You may have met them because you met them at Little League practice, but now there's a friendship that's been forged with the fact that pain has come. And Naomi is discounting the fact that these ladies walked through pain as well. And she's saying, that's why we were here. You don't want me anymore because I don't have what you originally got from me, which is my sons. She's breaking something that's real, but she's giving seriousness to it that is beyond its level of seriousness. And then she says, listen to this, no, my daughters, return to your parents' homes, for I am too old to marry again. And even if it were possible, she says, and I were to get married tonight and bear sons. Let's just say I had an Abrahamic Sarah miracle that came into my life. I'm an old woman. I can't have kids anymore, she says. But let's just say God got me pregnant tonight. Then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not, my daughters. Things are far more bitter for me than you because the Lord himself has raised his fist against me. There's something in this passage from Naomi that stuck out to me. There's some, she's being real. Like everything she's saying is truth. And I think what she really realized on that road is that there is an enemy that we all face, that when we face that enemy, we realize we cannot beat this enemy, and that is the enemy of time. She's realizing that some time has passed her by. She's realizing that she is low on time and she is running out of time. She comes to a moment where she realizes that time is no longer on her side. Now, we've got a lot of 20-somethings in this church, and here's what I'd say to you 20-somethings. Time is still on your side. Like, you can blow it and still recover. Like, you can do some things that everybody will just look at you and go, well, you know they 20-something. Because we all remember when we were 20-something, right? So I was speaking with a young couple in our church just too long ago, and they said, what are the expectations of us in ministry? And they're like 21 and 20 years old. What are the expectations of us? I said, we do not have any expectations of you because you don't know anything yet. Like at 20 and 21, you're just learning some stuff. Time is on your side. That is a great thing, by the way. I blew it a lot when I was in my 20s. But when it gets very discouraging is when you're in your 30s, in your 40s, maybe your 50s, and you realize what you've blown. And you realize that time is no longer on your side and that you're starting over again. And you realize, like Naomi, that what am I going to do? The only reason these girls ever even loved me, the only reason they're even with me is because they married my sons. I can't give them sons again, so why would they want me? And you realize, you think that you don't have anything to offer. Can I just have a Titus 2 moment just again to the more seasoned people in this room? You think you don't have anything to offer, but that is a lie from the pit of hell. Because what you have to offer is pain transcends all of that. Pain is learning in the process. And a 20-something-year-old hasn't been through the pain yet that you've been through. They haven't learned the lessons yet. And Naomi was missing the fact that what these two girls needed was her. They didn't need her to birth some more sons. They needed her to teach them how to be women of God. They needed her to say, hey, let me show you how to walk through pain. Because they were experiencing some pain that they had never felt before in losing their husbands. But they were looking at a woman who had lost her husband and had lost her two sons. She had been through threefold the pain that they had been through. She has something to offer. And I say to every single one of you who's got a few gray hairs in your head like I do, you've got a lot to offer. You're not done yet. God still wants to use you in a big way. He's got plans for you. Don't quit on us because you think you get to retire in ministry. There is no retiring in the church. We die and we get to heaven going, I used everything I had, every gray hair that God gave me, and for some of you, He took all your hair away because you used it that much. God wants to use you. That wasn't even in my notes. That was free to the service here, and that was good stuff. But this is not simply a woman feeling pressed for time. It is a woman who was wanting to quit. And I want to talk today to those of you, and I think it's all of us, who are wanting to quit for some reason. You're overwhelmed. You're discouraged. You're hopeless. That's what Naomi was doing, right? She was saying, don't bring your hope up in here. Don't be walking with me down this road. Don't tell me you'll stay with me. Don't bring your hope up in here. I've got no hope. I can't bear another child. She was hopeless, and you're giving up on something that matters. And it is a sobering moment in life when you realize that everything you have that brings you joy right this moment, that everything you have that you love about your life, that every success that you have, that everything about your life that you love, when you realize that none of it would exist because it is intrinsically tied to something or someone that you almost quit on. It is a sobering moment in life when you realize, if I had quit, I wouldn't be who I am today. If I had quit, I wouldn't be where I am today. If I had quit, we wouldn't have what we have today. I think about Connie and I in our marriage. We've told you before, we started dating when we were 16 and 17 years old. We dated for a few years. When we were 19 and 20, we got engaged. When we were 20 and 21, we got married. And then in our first and second year of marriage, we struggled to figure this thing out called marriage. We got to a point where we were asking questions like this. We were asking, like, should we have married each other? Like, we were asking, should we have gotten married? Like, should we have done that? Like, were we the right people for one another? Should we have done that? Like some of you right now are in that moment in your marriage where you're like, should we have even gotten married? Like, should we even be together? Are we designed in a way that we can be together? Can I just speak to that for just a moment? Can I just answer that question for you? I don't even need a whole sermon to do that. It doesn't matter. Because you're married now, that ship already sailed. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten married at 20 and 21 years old. I don't know. I'm a parent now. Maybe we shouldn't have. I have no idea whether we should have, but we did. But the thing is we almost quit. I mean, we were really close to quitting. We thought, what will it matter? We're in our 20s. We can start over. There were moments in that time where not only were we not choosing to love one another, we didn't like each other. Didn't like each other. And I tell her all the time on date nights, I'm like, I like you. Like, I actually like you. I like being with you. I like going out with you. I even like fighting with her. She's fun to fight with. I love it. I love it. And we love each other, but we like each other. But everything we have 3 children that we've been able to bring into this world through the birthing them. We have another child that we've adopted and changed her life forever. Wouldn't exist if we'd have quit. Freedom Church would not exist, at least as it is today, if it wasn't for us. It's not my dream. It's not even a dream that I was able to live with other people outside. It's an us dream too. Wouldn't exist. What I have and any wisdom that I have as a pastor wouldn't be here if we'd have quit. And we almost quit. See, the most meaningful times in life generally follow the most difficult trials. If you're going through some stuff right now, you're like, man, I am going through some stuff. Here's the beauty is if you're going through some stuff, here's what I want to tell you. You're getting ready to get to something that's beautiful and meaningful. Because God's taking you through a process but here's what I find about most people, is most people walk through all the stuff, they get through all and they get right to the point where they're just about ready to break through and they quit. Most people quit 5 minutes too early. Most people just don't take that one more step, that one more session of counseling, that one more time to forgive, that one more time to believe in them, one more time to go, I'm going to push through this discouragement, and I'm going to get to a place where I can be used by God again, and they just quit. But here's the thing, you start over. And then you're having to walk through that process again. And here's the bad news I have for you. Every time you start over, you take someone with you who is the hardest person in the world to deal with, you. Like every time you start over into a new marriage, or every time you start over into a new job, or every time you start over into a new dream because you gave up on that old dream, you keep walking and having to walk through it again. And then you get to the place of almost breakthrough and you quit. Again, and your enemy, let me tell you something, your enemy will give you a million reasons to quit on whatever matters most. So if you're getting a lot of reasons to quit right now, it's probably because your enemy knows you're about to break through. You're about to break through. Here's what I learned in this story, though. Naomi finds herself there. And I believe, all weekend long, I believe the Spirit of God has been on this point, and I believe this is the point that is going to change some people's lives today. Someone walked up to Connie after the last service, and they said, I want you to tell Sean, this changed my life. You only need one good reason to stay the course. There's a million reasons telling you why you should quit. There's a million reasons saying why you should give up. There's a million reasons saying just throw in the towel, give up. You'll never get where you want to get, but you just need one good reason to stay. Let's continue along in the story. Verse 14. And again, they wept together. So Naomi says, hey, why don't you, no, you need to leave. You need to go back. I know you're crying, all that kind of stuff, but you need to go back. They wept together. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. The story takes a turn here that I didn't think it was going to take. I mean, it's setting up perfectly, right? I mean, the girls are with her. They're like, no, we're not going to leave you. She's like, come on, you should leave me. You got to give up on me. I'm too old. And it's setting up perfect for these two girls to get around her, to walk with her, and to just go through life with her. But then all of a sudden, Orpah walks away. Now, listen to this. This is important to note. She cries, but she walks away. Just because someone acts like they care about you doesn't mean that they do. Actions speak louder than words. She acts like she's all concerned. She acts like I'll be there with you all the time. I'll never leave you. No. She courses in with Ruth. But then when it gets tough, Orpah walks away. See, and let me tell you, there are people who can walk away from you. There are people who can walk away from you. But hear me with this. If people can walk away from you, let them walk. Let them walk. If people can walk away from you, if they can, then let them. Let them walk away. Because if you don't, something will happen inside of your soul where you'll begin to give up on yourself because someone else gave up on you. In fact, let me illustrate this just for a moment. Megan, come up here for just a moment. Robbie, come up here for just a moment. And I want to illustrate this to you. Megan is going to play the part of Orpah, and that means Robbie's going to play the part of Ruth. Take your time. I got plenty of time. Just come on. All right. So this is Ruth. This is Ruth. This is Orpah. And life is easy when you've got them right beside your side, right? And you're walking through life and everything's good and you find God and you're following God together and everything is great. But then all of a sudden, here's what happens is Orpah goes away. So Megan, go over there. Just go over there. Orpah goes away. And here's what we do. And each and every one of you have done this in a relationship in your life. I believe somebody's doing it right now and you're going to get some freedom today. What happens is Ruth is right here. Ruth is beside me. Ruth has stayed with me. But I turned my back on Ruth because I'm so worried about Orpah who left me over here. And so what I do is I end up leaving Ruth and I go over, but Orpah, why did you leave? Like, Orpah, let me give you my digits again. Maybe you don't have my phone. Call me, Orpah. And then you go back over to Ruth, and Ruth's like, where you been? I've been here for you. Well, Orpah left. And so we're like, Orpah's right here. It happens for me. 1,500 people will be here this weekend at this church, but let one person leave. Let one person leave. And I'm like, well, why did you leave? Like, why did you leave? I mean, was the music too loud for you? Because I know some people say the music's too loud. But is that what it was? I mean, can I get you in a small group? Can I bring you a coffee when you arrive? And then I go back over here. And here's what I want to show you. If Orpah can leave, let her leave because Ruth is still here. And a whole book of the Bible is written about Ruth because Ruth is there. But we believe our destiny is tied to the one who departed. We think they left with something when Ruth is standing here all alone and we turn our back on them. Here, I've got some words for you. This will free you up. You're going to walk out of here with some simple application to take out of this is when Orpah leaves, if she can leave, here's some words you can say. 2 words. Bye, Felicia. That's what you say. You let her walk. You let them leave. I want some of you to get freed up. I don't want you to call them anymore. I don't want you to text them anymore, begging them to be your friends. I don't want you to ask them why they didn't invite you to the party. If you weren't invited to that party, it must have been an awful party. You just go, leave, Orpah, leave. Thank these guys for helping me out. So Orpah leaves. And it's not that Orpah was a bad person. It's not that the person who left was a bad person. Listen to me. It's that their part in the story is done. Their part in the story is done. And Ruth is still there, carrying out and writing out. Your spouse has stuck with you. Your spouse has stuck with, that friend is still there. You've had some hard times. You've gotten through some stuff. You're still here. You maybe haven't found your place yet. You don't know. You feel like you're going to quit yet, but you're still here, and we're still here for you. See, Ruth is still living out the story. And the reason that people leave is because they're not joined to you. And everybody can't be joined to you. Everybody can't be the one that's going to be there for you. Sometimes Orpah's going to have to leave so you can see how great Ruth is. Sometimes Orpah's got to walk away so you can walk with Ruth, because Orpah was getting in the way. And so Ruth comes back onto the scene. But Ruth clung tightly to Naomi. "Look," Naomi said to her, "your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same." Can I tell you something? When you walk through some pain and maybe you had to get out of a marriage, don't put the pain that the last husband put on you on the new husband. Don't tell me, I know they did that to me, so you probably will too. When you get some new friends after the friend has left you and you can't count on, don't put that on. Then they go, "Well, every friend always deserts me. Every friend always leaves me." How about give them a fresh start? How about let them be Ruth and don't make them be Orpah in your life? And she says, well, you're going to do the same thing, aren't you? But then verse 16 comes up. I love verse 16. Verse 16 says, "But." Sometimes you need a big but in life. I love big buts, and I cannot lie. Because God gives a lot of buts in Scripture. But God moments. But they stayed. They stayed. Everybody else left, but they stayed. But they prayed. When you asked them to, they prayed. It didn't get better immediately. You were still bitter, but they stayed. But they gave. But they came. When you asked them to, they were there for you. But Ruth replied, "Don't ask me to leave you and turn back." I love that. I love that imagery. Don't ask me to leave you, because that would be to turn back. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward. Is there anybody here who wants to go forward in life and not back? Don't ask me to turn back. Wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. You got to remember, Ruth was a Moabite. She did not worship the God of Israel. What she's saying to Naomi in this moment is, "Naomi, I see who you are right now in the midst of your pain. I see who you are right now, but I want your God." So she had obviously seen something in Naomi earlier that made her go, "I know you're not acting right now. And I know you're in a bad place right now, but I've seen some stuff in you, and I want some of that stuff. So I want to be with your people. I want to be with your God." See, Orpah didn't know what she was doing. She was going back to false gods. She was leaving Naomi, who was the only hope she had. But Ruth knew, if there is to be any hope whatsoever, I better stick with Naomi, because Naomi has shown me who the true God is. And she says, "I want to be with your God. I want to be with your people. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried." They're on this road that leads to home. Naomi is willing to give up, and Ruth says, "You can die here. You can give up and quit here, but if you do, I'm dying here too. I'm quitting here too. I'm not turning back. I'm not going away. I will be with you right here in this moment, in this place. If you walk forward towards God, I'm walking forward towards God. If you stay here, I'm staying here." There is something that is powerful when you realize that other people are depending on you. And there are people that are depending on you not to quit. In that moment where you feel like you've got to quit, you just remember there's someone who is intrinsically tied to you. They are joined to you, and they are waiting to see what you will do. In fact, it might be the very fact that you don't quit that allows them not to quit in the future. They will look at you and go, "I want to be like you. I need to be like you." And so oftentimes we will allow the fact that someone is going to quit on us make us quit. And that's the worst advice you could ever do. Worst advice you could ever give to yourself. That's not a reason to quit. There may be a million reasons coming at you, but that's not a good one. Because what you're doing is you're giving all the control to someone who quit on you. You're giving all of your control, said another way, to a quitter. You're giving all of the control to someone who was willing to walk away from you rather than giving the control to the one who stayed. Your destiny is not tied in the one who departed, but your destiny is tied to the one who's dependable. Because Ruth was dependable. See, everybody needs somebody who will love them to death. They'll walk through everything with them. They'll walk through life with them. That's why we beg you to be in community. Do you realize why we beg you to get around some people that you can find somebody that will love you to death? Because it may be in that moment that there's someone that can speak into you, encouragement, and maybe in that moment of a community, of a small group that you're able to go, this is the person that I'm spending my life with. Do you realize that, Freedom Church? We're spending our lives together. We worry so much about how we spend our money. We're spending our lives together by being together in this place and at this time. See, none of you can even tell your story for real without me being in it. I'm photobombing your life right now. Like, I'm a part of your life, and this church is a part of your life. You can ignore that it's a part of your life. You can not engage in it, but even in not engaging in it, we're a part of your story. We're spending our lives together. And I believe that every single person here has been given the purpose from God to be in someone's life and to be there when they need someone that would die with them. In fact, when we leave my house, I've got this picture up. It's Esther 4:14 that Connie put up on the doorway right as we leave. It says, perhaps this is the moment for which you have been created. Every time we leave the house, there's the possibility that we're stepping into right then the moment that God created us for. I wonder if Ruth and Naomi knew that they were in that moment on the road. See, there were a million reasons to walk away. But there was one good reason to stay. When Ruth walked up to Naomi and said, I'll be here for you. I'm never going to walk away from you. I'm never going to desert you. I know that life has handed you a million reasons to quit, but I'm the one reason to stay. As I read that story, I'm like, that's pretty amazing. But then I want to tell you about the end of the story. Ruth will go on in the story to get married. Ruth will go on to have children. Ruth will go on to have grandchildren, and because she is with the people of God and not back in Moab, she will have grandchildren who have grandchildren, who have grandchildren, who have grandchildren, who have grandchildren. And one day, in her lineage will be born a man named Jesus. Ruth, who almost quit because Naomi was about to quit. Naomi, who almost quit and sent Ruth back to a place where God wasn't, said, wait a minute. Let's find God. Let's follow God. Let's face forward. We're not going to quit. And God was working in that situation. He was ready to show up. Here's the thing I got to show you, though. So they show up. It says in our verse, the two of them continued on their journey, and when they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was excited for their arrival. It also says in that passage that as they showed up, that it said that the people were like, Naomi, what's up, Naomi's back, Naomi's back. Hey, there's a principle in there. Always believe the best about people. They may not have written, they may not have called, they may not have done what they're supposed to do, but they were really excited to see her when she got there. They really did miss her. People really do love you. They really do miss you. So she gets there and she looks at Ruth and she says, my name is not Naomi. My name is bitter. Did you see that she had a million reasons to quit? She needed one reason to keep walking and to face forward, find God, follow God, face forward. But it didn't all get better immediately. She says, I'm still bitter. I know that some of you are still working through some stuff. I know that some of you are still walking through some stuff. I know that some of you still got some pain that you haven't quite resolved in your life. I know that you still haven't quite found the faith that you want to have. But you got to know that it was that one reason. His name was Jesus. There was a reason. His name was Jesus. And here's what we know about Jesus. He crawled up on a cross, and he had one reason to do that. There were a million reasons not to. There were a million reasons not to die for us. There were a million reasons for him to quit and go, why don't I just go back to being God? But he had one reason to stay on that cross. And that reason was love. Because he loved you. He loved you in the midst of your mess. He loved you in the midst of your doubt. He loved you in the midst of all of the discouragement that you're walking through. He loved you when you've screwed up your life. He loved you when you can't seem to not mess stuff up. He loved you when you won't even turn back towards him. He loved you when you were running away from him. He crawled up on the cross. He had one reason, and it had your name on it. And Naomi may not have known her name. She may have thought it was bitter, but Jesus knew her name. And when he crawled up on a cross, he crawled up on a cross for Naomi, and he crawled up on a cross for you. He crawled up for you. He loved you. And God is here to say today, don't quit. I didn't crawl up on a cross for nothing. I crawled up on a cross for you. Don't quit. Don't give up. Because I loved you. And you might have a million reasons to quit. But I'm giving you one to stay. Jesus, thank you, God, for your unbelievable love for us. Thank you that as you crawled up onto that cross, you knew every single way that we would blow it. You knew every single thing that we would do to not live for you. And so, God, today we come before you as one, knowing that you gave us one reason to stay. God, there are so many here that want to quit right now. There's so many here that are ready to give up, throw in the towel. So, God, I pray that you would allow them to find you, follow you, face forward into your grace today. In Jesus' name, amen.